There we go. That's spinning. I hope that's fine. Do you have any drop frames? No. That's good. I don't know why that's spinning. Just keep spinning. Whatever. Okay, that looks better. All right. Let me see about this mess that I set up. So, here, I got some ground beef. Ground beef meatballs. Throw that in here. Gonna need some fixins. Let's see what I got. Breadcrumbs. Okay, breadcrumbs and salt, pepper, and onion powder, garlic powder. The onion powder is a mess of a thing. How is this so firm? Okay, it's kind of moving now. Jeez. All right. You probably want to cook up some of your meatballs and taste them for seasoning, but I'm not doing that because laziness. I'm gonna eyeball it. Breadcrumbs in here. Salt in here. Use some black pepper. Hey, Windows Update, shut up. Shut up. Mind your own business. Oh, my hands are, well, something was taking. Update tomorrow, you stupid Windows. Just shut up. Shut the hell up. Ugh. Don't interrupt your stream because you need to install updates. You want to restart your computer right now? Not even a little bit, man. Not even a little. Garlic powder, onion powder, 2 types of pepper. And we got meatballs. I need to find the pans and my pop these in the oven. My oven's already hot. I have it on 450. I'm going to quickly get some browning on my onions. In the meantime, I'm going to start the my beef gravy. There's the meatballs are going to brown a bit in the oven. They're going to come out. They're going to sit in the beef gravy and they're going to stew in there for just a bit, and the dish will be done. As soon as I get the sauce kind of simmering, I'm going to see about doing some rice, because I'm going to serve this over rice. And I should probably pull out some vegetables, but we'll see. Okay. This is pretty well mixed. Just going to find something to put my meatballs in. Bake them. Okay. Let's see. We'll do this. Just going to shape up some meatballs. I'm not laying these out because ain't nobody got time for that. I guess if you were particular about your meatballs, you could weigh them out, make sure you got the same size, but not for me. It should be a pretty quick dish to come together because I don't anticipate putting these in the oven for more than probably about 10 minutes, and then when I cook the meatballs down, I might give it 20 minutes with the meatballs and the actual beef gravy to stew. It doesn't take that long to cook for the meatballs. It's ground beef. I don't have any ground pork in here, so I don't have to worry about undercooking so much. Plus, this is beef that I ground myself. They say not to undercook ground beef from the supermarket. Well, this is not supermarket ground. This was homemade ground meat, so that shouldn't be an issue either, but I don't anticipate these are going to be really undercooked. So, we've got 9 meatballs, one kind of tiny. I will check those in about 10 minutes. I don't have a timer for that, but in the meantime, actually before I get my gravy going, let me brown up, well, yeah, let me brown up my veg. So I got onions and bell pepper. So let me see. Guess I can use this sucker on the burner. Let's just get rid of this. Fire on. Now these are frozen, so it's going to take a bit because they have to defrost and start to brown. It's just a little bit of oil in here. Alright, I need to locate a pot for my beef gravy. Probably with this one. So in this pot is going to go I have some homemade beef stock that's been in my freezer. It's starting to defrost. I'm going to take away at that. It should be easy enough to get some out of there, even though it's partially frozen. And this is my secret ingredient for today. This here is homemade roux. I made this with beef tallow and flour. Any roux you're going to make, it's going to be flour cooked in a fat. I've never tried cooking. Uh, I've never tried cooking down flour in beef tallow to make a roux, but I figured for meatball stew, if I'm going to put roux in it, maybe I should make it with beef tallow so that it's extra beefy. So we're going to see how that comes out today. So those are the key components to the gravy, just the beef stock and the beef roux. And vegetables and meatballs are going to sit in there. And the whole thing goes over rice when it's done. This is not very hot yet, but it will. Just going to eyeball how much onion I want. I don't have a lot of bell pepper, so I'm just going to put what I have left here. Hopefully this will start putting down soon. Brenner's definitely on. It's kind of warm and the light's on, so give that a second. I could actually get my other burner, but maybe I shouldn't do that. Okay. Just gonna wait on that. But I can put some of this in here. It's kind of a beef stock slush right now. So I'm just gonna take a knife and kind of work some slush out into here. Okay. I think that's good. So I'm gonna pop this back in the freezer. Add a little bit of water to this. So there, I got my somewhat diluted stock. It's going to cook down in just a bit. This is finally got some bubble ejection, so that's good. Just want to see the vegetables brown a little bit. There's definitely water coming out of these. They are still dealing with the frosting, so it'll be a little bit. Before that's done, because I didn't plan on pulling the burner out, I can't multitask and get this hot. But oh well. I would do that if I planned this better. I'll look at the meatballs. The meatballs are looking pretty good already. Probably won't be much longer. I'll pull those out. I used to brown my meatballs in a pan, and I would roll them around, and it's hard to brown the meatballs So you have to move them around. You have so many sides. It's a lot easier to pop them in the oven or the air fryer. I've done the air fryer too. Just because it heats all around the meatballs, you don't have to worry about moving them around. So I definitely don't like browning my meatballs in a pan. I'll never go back to that, I don't think. Well, it's going to be a little bit more, but it's all right. A little bit longer. They're cooking pretty well. You can see they're steaming up. As soon as that's done, I'll just dump that into my pot with my stock here. I'll get that going. Get that hot and I'll put some roux in there. Again, I'm going to eyeball that because I'm an eyeball kind of person typically. I almost want to pull the meatballs, but they can use just a little bit more browning. Just a bit. This is definitely looking pretty good. They're not frozen at all anymore. And this doesn't seem to be much any liquid. I think this is oil left. I'll let that go just a little bit longer, but we are looking a lot closer to the done there. So that's coming along. Not too bad. Good. As soon as I get the meatballs into the pot and the gravy and start cooking, I can put my rice on. It's about the time that it takes rice to cook is about how long I want to cook the meatballs in with the gravy anyway. So that'll be good. About ready to call this. All right, let's do it. Here's the other pot. In with the vegetables. If you like celery, I recommend putting celery in here too. I wouldn't mind, I just don't have any celery that's, I don't think I must not have any in the fridge right now. I don't buy it all that often, but if you have some, I'd go pretty good in here. But I wouldn't go nuts, just put a bit. Yeah, I need to close that. We need the temperature to get up. The temperature gets up there. I'll add the roux. And whenever you add roux to some kind of gravy, you want to cook it down for a bit because it changes the taste of it. If you add it and hardly cook it, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't think it's great. I think you got to cook it for a while. I'm going to go ahead and call the meatballs. They're pretty brown. Probably could be more brown, but I don't want to forget about them. So the meatballs are ready for the next step. Oven is off. That's good. All I need is to have this up to a boil. As soon as that wants to cooperate, we'll get to the root action. You're doing pretty good time-wise. From the start to putting the seasoning, shaving, and cooking the meatballs through, or browning them, and to get my stuff here going. Just as soon as that feels like getting hot enough. Yep. This probably would be faster on the gas stove, but it's fine. A little patience there. Here's a pro tip for when your food is taking too long to get hot. Get yourself a brewski. Cheers. I see signs of life, so shouldn't be too much longer on this. Is there any goat in this recipe? Hello, goat lord. No, this is a goat-free recipe. I'm only using beef in the meatballs. I honestly haven't had any goat. I guess goats in the meatballs would technically still be meatballs. It's not like I'm calling these beef balls. That is an interesting question. Goat-free, lamb-free, pork-free, chicken-free, gluten-free. I guess they're gluten-free because they definitely didn't put any flour in the meatballs themselves. My roux is absolutely not gluten-free. I like my roux with extra gluten. Beef balls, I mean, I think the reason why they probably don't call them beef balls is because people typically mix pork and beef, and maybe even lamb, for a meatball mix. If you go to the grocery store closest to me, I'm pretty sure if you buy meatball mix, they'll sell you something that's like at least a beef and pork mix. It might be a beef, pork, and veal mix. So I think a lot of people, depending on the culture, would serve up their meatballs with not just beef. This is looking almost like it's boiling, so we're very close to adding this in here. And this is my first dish with homemade roux that is made with beef tallow. Should taste more beefy than, jar roux. I might have some of that here. Maybe not. I do. So if you live in South Louisiana like I do, go to any grocery store at all and you can find several brands of roux in a jar like this. This one, it looks like the name would be Savoy or something. People mispronounce that if you're not from around here. That is Savoy. Savoy's roux. This is not my favorite roux. It just happens to be what I have in my fridge right now. I actually did it says certified Cajun on here, by the way. That's a thing. I did a test with some friends. We tried this roux versus homemade roux in a blind tasting, and everybody preferred the homemade roux. Ingredients: enriched flour. Wow. Yes, and oil. Enriched flour contains a whole bunch of stuff, apparently. Like a lot of stuff. And oil, so. This is a product of Opelousas, Louisiana. I do not recommend visiting Opelousas, Louisiana. Alright, this is bubbling. This is fantastic. Look at that. Steam. Good signs. In with the roux. I'm going to put a good amount of roux. A couple of big spoons of roux. Alright. That's probably enough. I'm not going to go crazy this time. If you ever make yourself a Cajun type of stew, don't take your eyes off of the freaking pot, okay? As soon as you add your roux to the pot, I'm going to show you, there's a lot of bubblage, right? The bubblage, once you add the roux, goes crazy here. So typically when you add your roux to your gravy, you'll see it bubble up, and if you're not careful, this will boil over really quick, so you got to keep your eyes on it. After a while, it'll cook, it'll kind of settle in and kind of mix together, and then you won't have all this crazy action here, but you got to watch out. Many times I've put roux in my pot with my gravy, and I stepped away for a second, and then it overflows, hits your burger, and it's awful. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's a pro tip. If you ever cook with roux. Well, this kind of roux, not the French kind of roux. Alright. Let that incorporate together. I'm going to give this just a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so before I add the meatballs. Because the roux is going to cook down into this as the meatballs cook into it as well. I'm just going to let all that get homogeneous at the same time. I do need to cook this down a little bit because I put water in here. I don't want my gravy to be too watery. So I need that to, let me set a timer. Why not? That's reduced for 5 minutes. Oops. And 1 second. Reduce. I guess you can't see that. No. Camera is at a bad angle. You can't see the timer. That's fine. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Just take my word on it. So this is a pretty beefy mixture here. Beef stock, homemade beef stock, and homemade beef roux. If you never cooked with homemade beef stock, I recommend making yourself some beef stock if you're going to make French onion soup or any kind of beef gravy that calls for beef stock. Homemade beef stock is pretty fantastic. I could do that on the stream one day, but just get yourself some beef bones. If you can get to a butcher shop that has just straight up beef bones, soup bones, if you go to the supermarket, you can buy ribs. I think this was beef ribs mostly. I think I bought beef ribs and beef shank for this one. Some good stuff. I'm gonna put the rice on. I'm gonna go ahead and wait till I throw the meatballs in there. I actually wonder if I want to use my microwave rice pot. So if you're lazy, they have these microwave rice pots that look like something like this. Put your rice and water in there like that. You close it up and pop it in the microwave and it cooks your rice. If I don't do that, I cook it straight on the stove. I should get a proper rice cooker. Rice cookers are great. My family definitely uses rice cookers. I grew up with those. I should own a proper rice cooker. It's kind of funny I don't. Then again, I have kind of a lot of kitchen crap, so although if I did have a rice cooker, I would leave that out somewhere. Like the air fryers out here, that could stay in storage most of the time. So, yeah. I mean, there's even room by the coffee pot or something if I want to get crazy and put the rice pot over there, but something to mull over. 2 minutes left. That's pretty quick. The color of this is not as dark as when I use other roux. It's interesting. It's almost like a white sauce. I think I'm going to go a little bit longer, so I'm going to stop my little timer. Go with another 5 minutes from here. So maybe like 8 minutes or so total. It's So I have some mixed vegetables that can go straight in the microwave, so that's probably what I'm going to do. Cooks right in the bag. One of these days I'll have to make some corn mock shoe one stream. I like to have corn with stew. Pretty rich. Seems to be a good combination to me. 4 minutes. We'll just leave this like it is, but pop the meatballs in here, get the rice going, and I'll be eating pretty soon after that. So it's a pretty quick meal coming together, but it doesn't take very long to cook meatballs through. In fact, I'd be eating meatballs now if I just wanted to cook them in the oven and not have a sauce or anything. But I went this route. I also have this fat separator. My plan, once I have the meatballs cooked down and I'm ready to serve, I'm going to pour my gravy mix into this, and that's going to allow me to pour off the gravy minus the grease so I can serve that. I'm just going to discard the grease because, you know, nobody really needs a greasy gravy. You kind of want a beefy gravy minus the grease. So that'll be good. I do recommend these things. I didn't know beef fat separators were a thing until, I don't know, maybe 90 days ago when I was looking into this brisket recipe. There's one cat in the kitchen. is the one who jumped up here one time when I started streaming. It was just like cat right in front of the camera. Ooh. Now the color of this is interesting. Although I'm not sure what I expected from cooking something with using beef tallow roux for the first time. I'm not sure what I should have expected that to look like. It's a lot lighter in the color than what I'm used to looking at for something that has roux in it. And I cooked the roux down. I mean, it came out pretty dark. It might not be the darkest roux I've ever seen. It looks pretty dark, though. I mean, this color is not really representative of what I'm looking at in the pot. This is a pretty dark brown. That's the bad thing about cooking homemade roux. You don't want to burn it, but you want to cook it and get it dark enough. And it's the balancing act of not burning your roux without ending up with a roux that's way too light. That's why I buy it in a jar usually. But I've never seen beef tallow roux sold in a jar, so it's very often just some kind of cooking oil, like a neutral oil. Don't make an olive oil roux, but that'd be disgusting. Blah, blah. All right, looking good. I'm gonna throw the meatballs in here. Time to stew up the meatballs. There we go. And like I said, it's time to put on my rice. By the time the rice is done, this should be ready to serve. So I'll be cracking on that. I'm going to go with 2 cups of rice. That'll take 15 minutes. I'm going to turn this down just a scooch. Two cups of rice, water. A little bit of salt. All right, 15 minutes. And we wait. So my total cook time is going to be just under an hour, so that's pretty good. 40 minutes in. Good thing I had the oven hot before I started streaming. color that is it's almost like it's like a milky sauce, some kind of white sauce. Color is just weird looking, kind of. A lot lighter than I'm used to. I don't know. It smells pretty good though. I'll pick out those meatballs, put them in probably that container over there. Maybe stick them back in the pot after I separate the grease out of this sauce here. I don't like. I'm not a big fan of trying to scoop from the top to get the oil off. I have heard a tip that you can use bread to just kind of pat it down, but yeah, the fat separator works pretty nice. It works quick too. It's got a thing here. It'll catch the pieces of stuff, so my onion and stuff shouldn't go through. It should stop here. So just the liquid goes down, and then the oil will sit on the top, and I'll just pour it and leave whatever oil is left in there. I should put some seasoning in here though. So I seasoned the meatballs, but I didn't season the actual gravy. So let me get a little salt in here. And some pepper. That's not pepper. That's pepper. And some cayenne. Alright. As soon as the rice is done, I can pop those vegetables in there too. Let those steam through. Yep. Oh. What does this say? Place frozen unopened bag. This side of. Do not pierce bag. Okay. This is probably going to be like 5.5 minutes. I don't have the best microwave. Ten minutes, 2.5 minutes on the rice. And get a shot more bubbling stuff in here. There we are. See, it's got a brown color, but it's a little bit lighter in color than I'm used to. Although it might get darker as it cooks down. There we go. Just hold my phone here. It'll be a phone stand for 9 minutes. Not really. There we go. Set that back up. Almost, kind of, almost 8.5 minutes. Almost. Let's see. I think I'm just going to pick out the meatballs, put them back in the pan, and probably just pour that straight in there. Well, under 6 minutes. Bowls. Be ready to throw that in for 5.5 minutes. Process my gravy. Set up. So close. So I'm waiting 5 minutes on the rice. I have 10.5 minutes before I hit a 1 hour on the stream. I think I can strain the gravy and be ready to go before the 1 hour mark. We'll see. I think it's doable. 4.5 minutes. Let me taste the gravy. You know what? Aha! Kind of greasy. I'll fix that. Got a lot more salt and pepper. Alright. A little under 3 minutes. Two and a half. I'm just hungry and I want it to be done. Almost there. Please. 1 minute and 45 seconds. Come on. We got 5.5 minutes on this. I don't think the vegetables are going to be done before I hit 1 hour, but actually they could be. It's almost ready. Pretty close, but as long as this is ready for 1 hour, I'm pretty happy with that. It's not a race really, but since I observed that I'm close to an hour, and the rice is almost done, I still have a good 6.5 minutes left. So, yeah. In fact, I would have started streaming earlier, but I had issues with the setup, which suddenly reminded me of why I haven't done a cookie stream in a while, because the setup annoys me so much. You can't really see, but I have the Ethernet cable on the floor. I have a extension cord plugged in here. Got my phone over there as the camera. Now I tried to do the microphone for audio, and that was a thing. So yeah, what I should probably do is plan out 2 cookie streams and kind of leave my setup sort of ready to go for the next day. Okay, rice is out. The vegetables have gone in. I'm just going to pick out my meatballs real quick. Get my gravy separated so we can defeat the grease. The rice is going to settle a bit. So I never serve my rice right away. You're supposed to give it some time to kind of relax. Alright. Meatballs are out and my stopper is in place. I'm going to carefully pour this through. My vegetables are getting stuck in the top. Put my pot over here. Let that settle for a minute or so. Greasy layer should form at the top. I can kind of see it. So I'm just going to pour this straight back into the pot. Let's put the vegetables back in there too. 3.5 minutes on the vegetables. Got 30 minutes until I hit 1 hour. So the vegetables are going to be over time, but this is about ready to go, looks like. My grease line, I can pretty much tell where I want to pour it, so I think it's probably time to go with that. I can give it another minute though, I guess. We'll see. Typically you pour it and you just let it sit there for a second and you can tell where your grease line is going to be. The oil sits on the top very quickly. And you have a good idea of how much to pour. Alright, I'm going for it. So pot back on the burner. Stopper comes out of this. And I will pour most of this back in here. That looks pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't really want to risk going back into the grease, so I'm going to actually leave that much of it out. You can see right here, this is how much grease I'm not putting back in the pot. Gonna get my vegetables back in here. I guess I'll leave the meatballs out, that's fine. I'll just serve them up from the tray. There's my gravy for my rice. I have a minute left. I could fill it up. Straight up minus the vegetables. It's almost done. Some rice. Some of this gravy. I'll go ahead and use that gravy kind of spoon. Be generous with that. Right for that rice. Go. Couple meatballs. A few meatballs. And there's the vegetables. sure these are hot. Pretty sure. I'm gonna go another minute on the vegetables, but we just hit an hour and basically an hour and a minute. 61 minutes. There is some meatballs with the rice and the gravy. Here's my gravy in the pot. The color of it does look less like a white gravy than it did before, so just cooking down a bit, getting the grease off. It's looking much more like what I would expect from a typical beef stew that I would make, with a more, with a roux that I would buy from the supermarket. All right. I'm sure nobody really cares about the mixed vegetables. It's not like I did anything for these, so I was going to pop them in the microwave, so this is the least homemade part of the dish, easily. There you go, just plop some vegetables there. Alright. I will have a taste of the rice and the meatballs. And we'll let you know how it came out. Some rice, a little bit of veg on it. Pretty good. And a meatball. Pretty good. Alright. I will get a picture of this for my YouTube thumbnail. There we go. You guys can see, that's my plate. That's gonna be it for me. I might be grading somebody in a second. I need to look. Thank you guys for watching the VOD. And this will be on YouTube for anybody who likes to watch the VODs after the fact. I appreciate those. And do I have anybody who I feel like rating? Let's see. Maybe I do. Just maybe. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Good night.